a look at kids in social media. Studies show that too much time on social media apps can be linked to anxiety and depression. On average, American children ages 8 to 12 spend 4 to 6 hours a day watching or using screens. And for teens, it's up to 9 hours a day. I sat down with my 11-year-old daughter, Mia, for an honest conversation about her social media use. I wanted to find out which apps she uses the most and how they make her feel. Take a look. Let's say out of 10 friends, how many of them do you think have an Instagram account or a TikTok account?
All of them.
Now, do you use Facebook?
No, that's for grandmas.
Okay. Your mom uses Facebook. She's not a grandma. Okay. Do you use Instagram?
No, I have an account, but I don't use it.
Okay. Now, do you use TikTok?
Yes.
How often?
Do you want the truth?
Yeah.
About more than 8 hours a day, probably.
8 hours a day?
Yeah.
And what do you use it for?
I usually just scroll on TikTok and watch videos.
When you're on TikTok, do you feel smarter?
Not smarter, kind of just like more free. I feel like when I'm on TikTok, I can like relate to things better, you know? Sometimes when you're on social media, I wouldn't say it's like an addiction, but it'll be something that like brings you joy. But then when you don't find anything on it, you'll still want to look for things that'll make you happy.
I feel like at one point you were addicted to TikTok.
Yeah.
Do you think you were?
Definitely. There's no doubt.
So let me ask you this. Do you like the color of your skin? Do you like the way you look?
Yes.
Do you get positive reinforcement in this house?
Definitely.
What are some of the things that your mom and I say to you?
You remind me that my skin is beautiful, that when I'm going out for dinner or something and I dress up, that I look beautiful.
Are there times when you're on social media and maybe you don't like the way you look or you question how beautiful you are?
I find someone that's like really pretty. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so pretty. And then I'll look at myself and I'll be like, oh, I wish I looked like them or something.
But then don't you turn around and think to yourself, I'm also pretty?
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I'm pretty anyway. It doesn't matter.
What would you say to kids who are on social media and because they don't measure up to somebody else's standards, their lifestyle, or the way they look, they feel sad?
So recently, on the first day of school, I tried to dress my best because I wanted to make a good impression.
You're in a new school.
Yeah. But then I realized like most of the other kids, they don't care. And I have lots of respect for people who just don't care because as long as they don't care, they seem happy. Because at the end of the day, you might as well live your life as happy as you can be and just enjoy every second of it without trying to compare yourself or anything.
Mia, you are the coolest.
I know. No, I'm kidding.
And the smartest and the most beautiful. We are joined by Jamie Howard, Senior Clinical Psychologist at the Child Mind Institute. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Before we talk to you, Jamie, can we just have a minute just to talk about that interview? Number one, I got a girl crush on Mia when I saw the two of you interview Michelle Obama back in the day. I thought she is so poised and so smart, but I love the dynamic between the two of you. You didn't wince when she said she was on TikTok for 8 hours. Do you all have house rules?
We do.
I was surprised that you just said, okay.
If you have straight A's and
Okay.
you're doing your chores and you're a good student, then you can be on TikTok, you can be on any app you want, and also play video games. But
Yeah.
as soon as you do something wrong, you lose those privileges. But there was a moment there where I realized how much she hears us give her positive reinforcement.
Yes.
But when she answered the question and she said, sometimes I see another girl who's pretty and I don't feel as pretty, my heart started to drop.
Right.
And I almost got choked up. I had to collect myself because in that moment I realized no matter how much
reinforcement she gets, yes.
I'm fighting against
Yeah.
an unseen enemy, which are people on the other side of the screen that are putting videos out there, and she's reading these comments that people are posting. Jamie, I want to start with you. As a parent, what can we do? Because we are also filled with anxiety.
So you did a lot of great things. It sounds like you give your daughter lots of positive reinforcement, lots of specific labeled praise. You value other things besides how she appears, so she has to do well in school. So that's what parents can really do. We want to encourage our kids to get in real life kind of social experiences with all the nonverbals that you get from like a real life conversation, engage in hobbies, move your bodies, get good sleep, because a lot of kids who have this kind of quote unquote addiction, they're watching their apps all night. They're not getting good sleep, and that really affects us, and it can be linked to increased rates of depression.
As good as it is, social media does seem to be a double-edged sword to me. How do we navigate that dance, Jamie?
So I don't think we want to say that you can't be on social media at all, right? Because that would be socially really disadvantageous to your kids, but we want to have limits.
And unrealistic.
And unrealistic, right. And we want to have limits. Sometimes we'll say about 2 hours, as long as you're doing things like your homework and you're doing things in real life, you're engaged in other activities, and you want to model good behavior as parents. So put your phones down during meals, have a place where you can put your phone so that everyone knows, like right now, it's screen-free time. And you can just put the phone face down, because adolescents hate it when they think maybe a parent or someone could see something pop up.
So you say about 2 hours of screen time. I'm hearing about 8 hours in that interview, Nate.
I had no idea. It was eye-opening for me. And I realized the moments where she is on the phone. She hurry up and gets her homework done. We check her grades, and she realizes, I have a ton of time on my hands.
Yeah.
And living with 2 older brothers that are teenagers, she's like, I'd rather hang out with my girls on social media, because it's a experience where it's a collective, about 5 kids doing the same thing on a social media app.
Right, which was so helpful during the pandemic, too, so kids could stay connected. It's just the flip side is the social comparison.
It's very hard for parents to try to police the hours. Almost impossible with my 12-year-old. Facebook, which owns Instagram,
Facebook is for grandma, she said.
for grandmas.
Ouch.
Yikes.
Instagram also, no, it was a non-starter for her. I thought that was interesting.
Instagram is going to introduce a feature where teens can take a break from the app. The details are yet to be determined, but could that help?
I think that could help, having some sort of responsibility that we impose on kids, that we sort of model for them. Let's do this, let's take a little break, so that you don't get so sucked in, right? It's not technically an addiction because it's not a foreign chemical, but it's so what we call reinforcing, that once you're in, it is so hard to get out.
Yeah, not just for kids, for adults.
For adults too, yeah.
Jamie Howard, thank you so much. We appreciate you.